Welcome to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network with your hostess, Jen Josie. Join like-minded real estate investors and accelerate your business towards greatness. You will hear step-by-step strategies for success, interviews with real estate rock stars, and we will dig deep into past projects where we bear it all, including the good, the bad, and some just plain ugly. So get excited. Here's the bestower of badassery herself, the real Jen Josie. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, and welcome back. I'm Jen Josie, creator of RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Whoop, whoop. On today's episode, we have a guest that will be sharing one of their past projects. We will let you decide if it was good or bad or just plain ugly. But before we begin, here's today's badassery bestowment, my little badass gift to you. Today's topic is private money lenders. When we work with private money lenders, the process is simple. We find an undervalued property and then borrow the funds from you to purchase and renovate the property. At closing, you receive a mortgage on the home along with a promissory note, deed of trust, and hazard insurance policy where you are named the mortgage holder for your protection in case of fire or natural disaster, etc. The next stage is the property renovation. Once the renovations are complete, we'll list and sell the property. When it's time for closing, you'll receive your principal plus interest payment, typically 10%. It's just that simple. The goal is to continue turning that money for you while you make substantial profits, so you keep coming back to us, building a long-term, mutually beneficial relationship. Essentially, being a private money lender is your opportunity to become the bank, earning the profits just like a bank would. It's a great way to generate cash flow and produce a predictable income stream while at the same time provide excellent security and safety for your principal investment. So, you too can do what the banks have been doing for years, make a profitable return on investments backed by real estate. Now, on to today's episode of the Real Estate Investor Growth Network podcast. We have with us my friend Heather Tiedman. Heather started her real estate career at the end of 2020 after taking a few years off of work to be a stay-at-home mom. Just 3 months into her new career, she found out she was pregnant with their third child. As they were settling into the idea of adding another member to the family, Heather's husband suffered a back injury and was no longer able to work. Pregnant and now the breadwinner of the family, Heather quickly grew her real estate career, becoming a top producing realtor, and bought their first fix and flip, which we'll be discussing on the show today. I am looking forward to hearing all about her badassery, so welcome to the show, Heather. I'm so happy to have you on here, finally.
Here.
I've been asking you for months.
Just a little peer pressure. That's all it took.
Peer pressure. And this is your first podcast that you're doing.
Yes, yes.
And even though it is audio, you look amazing. I'm just saying.
Thank you. Thank you. As do you.
I have no makeup on. I just got out of massage, so I'm still greasy, but you look fabulous. So
Thank you.
Today it's all about you, Heather. I'm so thrilled to have you on here. What got you started in real estate? Like, what made you were a stay-at-home mom. You had 2 young ones at home. You decide, I'm going to go into real estate, and you find out you're pregnant, which I think is awesome. So what made you make that decision to go into real estate?
So I've always been interested in real estate. When we purchased our first home, I'm a researcher by heart. So by the end of it, I felt like I knew everything, which I did not, but I felt like I did. So over the years, it's just something that interests me. I was constantly researching it and finally decided, you know what, I'm going to take the plunge. I'm going to get my license. And that's what I did. I started, originally, it was just supposed to be something I could grow slowly. My husband was already the breadwinner of the family, so I was able to learn and grow at my own pace. That quickly changed, as you've heard. So kind of got thrown into it, pregnant, and
I can't imagine.
So, but honestly, it worked out for the best. And while it's awful that my husband still has his back injury, it honestly completely changed the course of our life. So I wouldn't have it any other way.
And I mean, you were working on commission at this point, so that is tough, but I know you and know your drive, and I can see where you easily moved into that top producing realtor title right away. So I am super, super proud of you for doing that. And Jonathan, your husband, he ended up getting his real estate license.
He did. He did. He's also a top performing realtor.
Very nice. I didn't know that. And funny story. So you were giving birth, and what was going on at the same time while you were giving birth?
So we're in the hospital. He got licensed in August, and we had our third in September, the very beginning of September. And while we're in the hospital, I'm having the baby. I'm coaching him through writing his first offer.
And did you get it?
Yeah, no, he did not. Okay. He did not win that one. So unfortunately, no. But he did end up closing one with him. So it all worked out.
I think that's such a great story. So we're talking about your first fix and flip, and I love it because you're actually a listener. You listen to the show pretty often, so you know the benefits of listening and things that you can learn, and especially in these past projects where things happen, but it's great to hear other people and what they went through so that maybe you don't make the same mistakes. Maybe you hear, oh, I need to make sure I do that so that I can get more profit, etc. So let's hear about this property. Tell me about it. How many beds and baths, what year it was built, all that fun stuff.
So this was an old home, which I don't recommend probably for your first project because it was a 1940s. And
girl, that's young here. That's young in my area, 1940s.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So it was a fun one. It was a 3-bed, 1 bath. Did not have a laundry room. So the washer and dryer right in the middle of the dining room floor. A water heater was right in the middle of the kitchen floor.
Oh, my goodness.
So it was fun. And then we bought it from this sweet old lady who she had to go into a nursing home. She was no longer able to live by herself. But she had cats, lots and lots of cats, and she fed the neighborhood cats. And she would put a big pile of cat food right on her front stoop, and the cats would come. Well, with cats come raccoons. So they would be all these cats and the raccoons eating the cat food, and they decided that they were going to make a home in the attic. So it was an interesting one, that's for sure.
There is that old commercial, and my cousin and I still laugh about this commercial. It's the guy who does the insurance. Anyway, it was about raccoons in the attic, and he was pretending he was a raccoon. He's like, I just had like 5 babies.
The mayhem guy?
Mayhem guy, yes. I just had like 5 babies. Anyway,
this one did have babies, actually.
Aw. All right. So you have your real estate license. How did you find this property? Was it on the MLS or did you find it off market?
This was off market. So we originally were looking at a home that was on the MLS in that area. And while we're driving around the area, we were thinking, this is actually a really cute street. We decided to call the whole street, but we were purposely calling for a different house. So we called, they weren't interested. So we called the whole street, and it turns out this property was actually supposed to close the day that we called them.
Oh.
And it fell through. And she was like, well, if you want it, it's yours. And we're like, well, let me come see it. And we went and saw it, and the rest was history.
And how did you get their phone numbers? Just for the listeners, if they're in a situation like that, yeah.
So we pull them from Reddix.
And what is that, like a skip tracing company?
Yeah, it's they pull numbers, kind of like Vortex and things like that.
Got it. All right. Because and you're in South Carolina. What part of South Carolina?
I'm in West Columbia.
Okay. When in your tax records, you can pull up addresses and names and then where the mailing address in case they don't live there, but you can't get phone numbers. So that's why I was just curious how you got the phone numbers. All right. Excellent. And what was the asking price? And you said that they were under contract, but literally the day of it fell through. And so what was she supposed to close?
So she was supposed to close for 75, and that's what we bought it for, was 75,000.
Awesome. And how long did it take you to close on it?
It took us about a month to close on it.
Okay.
We had a little bit of leeway. She was okay with waiting a little bit, and it was our first time. So we gave ourselves a little bit of a grace period because we had no idea what we were doing. So we had to find financing and everything. So we closed about a month later.
Okay. And how did you finance it?
We used hard money.
Oh, very nice.
So our first one was the easiest one. It was super smooth, easy. Got financing, no problem. We did pay 3 points for it, but
and for the listeners, just for the listeners, points it's 1% of what you're borrowing per point. So you had to. It's to borrow their money, and it's paid at closing, but it's an extra fee tacked onto it. So you paid. Well, how much did you borrow? Because you also had to do for the renovation as well.
So we ultimately borrowed right at 100,000.
Okay, very good. And did you use any private money and like gap funding, or did you use your own money?
We use our own money.
Okay. And listeners, what I'm talking about is your hard money lender is going to typically pay 85% of the purchase price and then 100% of the rehab budget. And then there's that gap funding that you have to come up in between. And by the way, I'm making like pictures with my hands, like you all can see me on this audio recording here. But a lot of times we use private money lenders, just like I was talking about in my intro here, my badassery bestowment. But a lot of times people use their own money, and you're going to save a little bit of, interest by using your own money. So I don't poo-poo it. I typically rarely use my own money, but yes, that's a great way to also save a little bit of money. So what was
I prefer to use private money, but that was my option at the time.
Gotcha. And for a $75,000 purchase price, that's fairly easier chunk of change right there. And what was the estimated ARV, the after repair value at time of purchase?
So at time of purchase, our estimated ARV was 165.
Okay. And as a realtor, you are great at pulling comps and yes, exactly. And what year was this, by the way?
This was in 2022. So just last year.
Okay. So what was the market like? Was it still at the peak, or were you after the?
So when we purchased it, it was still very, very hot.
Okay.
It was, things were shooting up. We were thinking that, by the time we would go to sell, it would probably be worth a little bit more, but we were comfortable and pretty cautious at 165.
Okay. Very good. And what were your estimated repairs at time of purchase? I love this question.
Repairs were about 37,000.
Okay. And let's see here. So you financed it. What was your projected timeline?
So we were hoping to be done in 3 months, because we closed in April. So we were hoping to be able to sell it over the summer. That did not happen. But 3 months was our hopeful time frame.
Okay. Very good. All right. So you start the project, and this is your first one. So you're dealing with new contractors, or were you friendly with your contractors from your real estate, from your agent business, or are these new people?
So we have contractors that we've used for other, past clients and things like that, or for our own property. But so I'm telling you, everything about this was like kind of happenstance. So we happened to call that lady on the day that she was supposed to close and got us property. And on the day we're setting up bids for our contractors, we got a cold call from a general contractor. And we were like, well, you know what? If you can meet us out there, I think it was at 2 p.m. and it was 12, then we'll listen to your quote. We'll get a bid. And he was right. He was there right at 2 o'clock. I'm like, well, I think it's the first time a contractor's ever been on time.
So. No kidding.
And he came in, he was great, gave us a great bid. So we ultimately actually ended up going through him.
Very nice. All right. So you close, you start work on it, and no surprises, right?
Oh, of course not.
And then 1940s home. So what all encompassed this 37K of repairs?
So what was supposed to happen was we knew we had to build a laundry area. So we had to move that. We knew we had to get the water heater out of the kitchen. We had to completely remodel the kitchen, taking out all the old cabinets, putting in new cabinets, countertops, all new flooring, paint. And in the bathroom, because she was elderly, she had one of those like stand-up tubs.
Oh, yeah.
So we knew we had to replace that. But the major mechanics of the home were fine. Like it had a newer roof, it had a newer HVAC. So thankfully none of that was needing to be replaced. But that was what we originally started with needing to fix.
Okay.
And what it turned into was a lot more. But
so let me ask this, because when you have 3 bedrooms and just 1 bath, did you consider adding another bathroom since you were having to move a hot water heater, or just the neighborhood didn't call for something like that?
So we really did want to add a second bathroom. We ran through quite a few plans, talked to some contractors to try to, but ultimately it would cost so much more to add the second bathroom that we weren't going to see the return on that.
That's why I ask if it's a whole neighborhood where it's 3 bedroom, 1 bath, 2 bedroom, 1 bath, then it makes sense just to keep it. But, and that's what I try to tell people. You can just look at a house and then just go in and want to do all these things, but you're going to outprice your buyers. That's what I was trying to think of before. So you don't want to outprice them. So, all right. You start construction. You got this great guy who shows up on time. And how did the renovations go?
So they went fairly well. Very early on, we found out that we had to replace all the windows in the house, which came at a very high expense. And then we also we grossly underestimated how much plumbing cost. So those were 2 of the bigger things that ended up costing us a lot more money than we expected. And then also he was a newer contractor. We're newer to, flipping. So there was a lot of a learning curve there, and getting the proper systems in place, doing things in the proper order. That kind of held us up a little bit.
Now, do you still work with this?
We do.
Okay.
Yeah, he actually did our second one.
Yeah, because I actually like that, where you can train them how you want things done, whether it's, how to do change orders, etc. So I think that's a great thing. So plumbing, what did you have to do with the plumbing?
So we had to pretty much replumb the entire bathroom. Ugh. And quite a bit underneath the house. And then we had to move the hot water heater. We ended up putting that actually in the crawl space itself, because there just was not another place for it.
Right.
So then came with the gas lines, and mostly that had to do with them not knowing how to do it. So it kind of left us scrambling to find people that could do it, which held us up a little bit. Then plumbing, there was no dishwasher because it was a 1940s house. So we had to, run plumbing for a dishwasher. And that ended up costing us about $5,000 more than we thought it was going to, between the tub and everything.
Well, that's not too bad.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't terrible, except we had just paid for, almost $10,000 worth of windows.
Windows. Yeah. And so this was April, May, around that time of 2022. Yeah. Well, I was trying to buy windows back in the end of 2020, and it took us, I think it was 5 months to get windows on one of our properties.
Oh my goodness.
Windows were the worst back then. So yeah. And do you remember approximately what you paid for each window by any chance?
I want to say it was right around $300 a window just for the window itself.
Right.
And then he charged us $250 to install it.
$250 each?
Yeah.
Okay. Never use that guy again. Should be about $100 each.
Oh, wow.
For installation. Okay. Yes. And
well, he did have to replace like all the wood framing and stuff around it.
All right.
As it was. But again, I was not super well versed on pricing.
So, but he was reframing it as well. So that's where that expense came in. Okay. Got it. All right. Well, that's part of it. So, all right, let's get into some or any other major surprises happened during renovation.
Really the biggest one that actually wasn't as expensive as I thought it was going to be, but it was more time consuming, was getting rid of the raccoon family in the attic. Because apparently what they do is they go up there and they put coyote scent, like pheromones, in the attic. And
so bizarre.
There was a hole that he was getting in and out of, the whole family. So they had to keep going in there and adding more and more because these raccoons just didn't care. They were just like, okay, I guess we live up here with a coyote now. So eventually they put enough in there that it scared the family out. But that took about 2.5 months.
Goodness gracious. Wow. Interesting. All right. So how long did it actually take? You thought it was going to be about 3 months. And what was your actual timeline to complete?
So it ended up taking us about 6.5 months.
Okay. And then what was your actual repair costs?
54,000.
54?
Yeah.
That's not bad. For a whole new kitchen, new plumbing, all that stuff. That's pretty good. And all those windows, absolutely. And interest and holding cost commissions, do you have any idea with those numbers?
So we paid about $6,500 in interest. And then it cost us right around $1,500, $1,800 in holding cost.
Okay.
And then because we're realtors, we only had to pay one side of the commissions.
Very nice. And
so we paid $4,000 for those.
All right. So it's 6.5 months later. What do you end up listing it for?
So we ended up listing at 173. So market increased a little bit in that area. So we were able to list it for a little bit more.
All right. And how many days on market?
It was only on the market for about 8 days.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so this was, when did you list it? I can't do math here.
I listed it in October.
And October, November, December are really tough months. Like as soon as you get to Thanksgiving, it slows down. So yeah, very good that you had it in there by October. And all right, drum roll. What did you end up selling it for?
I ended up selling it actually for 175.
Nice. And your total profit?
About 25,000 after everything was said and done.
For your very first flip. That is amazing.
Yeah, it was stressful, but I thought we were going to end up breaking even, but thankfully we did end up getting some profit in there for sure.
25,000 is very good profit. I was just showing a presentation and I had forgotten about this house. We only made 2,500. I was sweating bullets. If we had to go like one more month of interest payments, we would have lost money. So, Heather, bravo. Great job on this. So after doing this first flip, do you do anything different now with the rest of your flips?
Yes, we are more organized about when we're doing things. Like we get our plumber in there first, our electrician, before they start, putting in floors. Because that was one thing that we did. We saved the plumbing and the electricity for after the fact, and that was not a good idea. So we started doing that, started being more organized and kind of making standards of practice for our contractors to understand, this is your first step, second step, and so on and so forth. Our second project was significantly easier because of that.
Yes, having systems is huge. So what type of advice do you have for the listeners after completing this first flip? And by the way, these are great numbers. You got a great profit. I mean, slam dunk. I think this is great. You learned a lot. So what advice do you have for people who are getting ready to do their first flip?
I would advise them to just estimate a little bit higher for your repairs, obviously, because they're always going to be more than you expect them to be, but also be patient and just understand that things come up and you're going to have to rotate on a dime and figure out other solutions to problems, especially if it's an older home, because a lot of things in older homes are not standard sizes that we have today, which ends up causing problems.
And Heather, I'm so glad you brought up to be patient, because I am one to lose my cool on occasion for just silly stuff. And it's like, why do I even put that much effort towards something that I can't really change? And that's really, really important. And it probably makes your contractors want to continue working with you because you are so, chill and having some patience with them. So great job, Heather. I am super proud of you. Thank you for sharing this. And the second part of the podcast is what makes Heather a badass, which you are. And I use the acronym BADASS. And the first letter is B for book. What's a book that's made a huge difference in your life?
So I actually really like Atomic Habits.
That's a good one.
One of my favorite books. So I learned a lot from that book, and especially one of their quotes was, "You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems." And that is one thing that we're working so hard to get the systems in place to be able to do this at a higher level.
That is very good. And after Atomic Habits, it was The Compound Effect. I read shortly after that. Have you read that book yet?
I have not yet.
So I read Atomic Habits, and then I read The Compound Effect, and forgive me, author, whoever wrote it, but that one just sealed everything together for me. So check that one out. All right.
Yeah, you put that one down.
Yes, that's a good one. All right. The first A in badass is advice. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
So I do not remember who gave me this advice. Well, the first person, because this is a pretty common quote that you hear often, and it's get comfortable being uncomfortable. And I am a naturally introverted person, and the last 2 years have really brought me out of my shell, and I've had to get comfortable being uncomfortable because I'm uncomfortable in 99% of the situations I'm in on a daily basis. But without those, I can't grow and I can't change.
And I find that so hard to believe because you are so good at what you do and provide so much knowledge for people, especially listening to this and hearing what you went through as well. So, and of course, I had to ask you how many times to get on this podcast? Just a few thousand.
Once or two.
Because you really have a lot to offer. And I'm glad you are comfortable being uncomfortable and stepping out of your comfort zone. I love that. All right. The D in badass is for drive. What drives you to be successful?
So my most obvious answer would obviously be my family. I am a wife. I am a mother of 3 children. But besides my family, I want to create affordable housing for low income people and first time home buyers. I like to keep my flips under the $250,000 mark, so I'm able to help keep those affordable prices. And we keep our flips for 90 days, so they're FHA eligible, so we can help those first time home buyers get a home that's nice.
So you just said something really, really important is for the FHA, first-time home buyers. FHA? Yes. What does it stand for? Anyway.
Well, the FHA is a loan type.
Oh, okay.
So you have like conventional FHA, USDA, VA, that kind of thing.
And so a lot of times we would flip condos and townhomes, and we would literally buy them on a Monday and then list them by the following Monday. And so we did not even have it and so we could not accept any FHA buyers. So I'm glad you said that. And what a great thing to do, because a lot of people hear about real estate investors and they think, oh, they're money hungry. They just want to, get an extra buck here and there, but we really do wear superheroes capes on occasion. And this woman, you bought this house for $75,000. She was supposed to close that day. And then you came in with your, just as you said, happened to, and you happen to call her just because you're calling about the entire street, and you swooped in with your superhero's cape and just helped her out of a situation where she was going to have to relist and have more showings and go through that again. And then she was able to close with you within 30 days. So I love that. And by doing affordable housing and things like that, your karma grows tenfold. And by doing that and providing that for neighborhoods. So see, this is why I like you so much, Heather.
Thank you.
Yes, I appreciate that. All right. The second A in badass is for aspiration. I'm a big goal setter. So what's a goal you are currently working on?
So every year in December, my husband and I, we sit down and we create a goal list. We have our minimum goals that we want to hit every year. And then we have our dream goals. But real estate, we really want to branch out of South Carolina. We want to purchase an Airbnb, actually in North Carolina.
All
Is
right.
the property tax structure is a little bit better there for non-owner occupied. So we're actually looking in Burlington.
Oh, okay. Well, you got to come stay at the Josie Estate when you come up here. And
I will.
we're like an hour from Burlington. Very, very cool. So, do you have any short-term rentals now?
No, I do not.
So just a little bit of advice here. It is starting to slow down a little bit, not because it's getting, everyone's like, it's oversaturated. I call BS on that. I really just think that less people are traveling right now.
Yeah.
So you got to make yours stand out. And I'm just looking at your backdrop right there with your pretty green wall, and you got your nice bright orange pillow there. So I know you have great design aspects, you have the eye for it. So just, you got to deck it out to make sure yours stands out from others. That's my only piece of advice on that. But,
Thank you.
yeah, very cool. All right. The first S in badass is for systems. Systems. What systems do you have in place to help you achieve success?
So we are big proponents of hiring help. We're very busy constantly because we're realtors, we own a cleaning company, and we invest in real estate. So we have an assistant who helps us pretty much run our entire life. Without her, we don't even know what we would do.
I want an assistant so bad. I'm so jealous.
Well, I'm telling you, she's the most amazing person on the planet.
I need one.
We would be in shambles. And then we focus heavily like on spreadsheets, automated emails go out every week. We are very heavy into social media. Well, I am. Ironically, my husband is not, but I am very heavy into social media. So that helps us lead generation mostly.
And you're great at social media. I love following you, and your pictures are so pretty too. So, which is why I just believe that you are great at design. I really truly don't know, but I just would assume you were, just because everything is just so aesthetically pleasing to the eyeballs. So, all right. So how do I find an assistant? I mean, how did you find this superhero for you?
So my assistant is actually my husband's best friend, kind of. So my husband used to work for Frito-Lay. He was a sales rep. So he would go into different stores, and he became really good friends with one of the people that worked at Dollar General, and just became really good friends. She became a family friend. And when it came time, we were like, why don't you leave there and come work for us? And honestly, it was the best thing we ever did. We pushed it off, because we're like, we're not, we've only been doing this for a couple of years. We don't need an assistant. But the second we hired her, it skyrocketed us.
All right. I'm going to make sure my husband listens to this, because he's the one holding me back from getting one. I don't know how we're going to pay for it. I'm like, oh my gosh, all the time it frees up for you to make, like, you got to put a value on what you make per hour, so I'm so jealous. All right. To wrap this up, Heather, the final S in badass is success. What does success mean to you?
So success means to us is getting more time back, because we do have 3 kids. We're wanting to be able to spend more time with them. We're wanting to be able to travel. And what we're currently doing, we're not able to do that as much as we would like. But because we're putting the proper systems in place, learning and growing every day, that hopefully within the next couple of years, we'll be able to do that and just chill out a little bit.
Yeah, you got a lot going on. And by the way, cleaning service, when did that start?
So we started that last year. My husband is the main one that runs the cleaning company. He manages it. And we started it because we could never find cleaners for our houses that we needed them. And we were like, well, what if we created a company that kind of caters towards realtors, that realtors need last minute cleans. They need move in, move out. So we created that last year, and it's been fairly successful. We're still working out some kinks on it, but other than that, we're up to 4 employees, about to hire a 5th. So,
wow, yeah, finding a good cleaning team is tough. So, Heather, it has been such a pleasure finally getting you on the show. How do the listeners find you and they can follow your beautiful social media stuff that you do? So how can they find you?
So to follow me, you can find me on Facebook or Instagram at Heather Tiedman Realtor. Or if you want to follow our renovations, our Airbnb, our hopeful soon Airbnbs and things like that, you can find us at Lexico Enhancements on Facebook and Instagram.
And where did that name come from? Lexico.
So we own the Lexico Group, which is my husband and I's team for real estate. So we have Lexico Enhancements, Lexico Cleaning, and then our Lexico Group.
Where did that name come from, though?
We're from the Lexington, Columbia area. So it's Lexington, Columbia.
Got it. All right. Well, Heather, it has been such a pleasure to have you. And listeners, when you look her up, her last name is spelled Tiedman, and she is so great to follow. It has been such a pleasure having you on the show. Heather, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
And you truly are a badass. Yes. And that is all. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode. Now go out there and share your badassery. And don't forget, make it a great day. Take care. Bye-bye. Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop.
Thank you for listening to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. If you need more badassery, you can follow Jen Josie by visiting therealjenjosie.com or become a member of RAIN by registering on rainmastermind.com.